Nobu Hata is someone that Karen brought to us. So if Karen would unmute briefly, if you wanted to share a little bit of your thoughts on our friend, and he's in the snow, so maybe you can warm him up with some warm words.
Well, I really can't warm you up because it's not really nice sunny weather today because the rain is going to come in. So you got the colder conditions. Just send some of the chill factor to us because we are really like hot here.
It's a little humid.
But we met Nobu in NAR as he worked his way through the NAR tech side. And then he decided he's going to leave NAR. And he has connections to Hawaii. He would come to Hawaii all the time to visit his family. But now he's in Denver running an association. So thank you, Nobu, for all the work that you've done with our associations.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for having me and Shay.
Absolutely. So with that, I mean, we sent out the bio. You're the CEO of the Denver Metro Association of Realtors. You were a realtor yourself, doing very, very well. But your specialty now is helping members, brokers, and associations integrate new school techniques and technology into their practices. So you were the director of digital engagement for NAR, which is very impressive. And NAR has continued in its role and its progress on engaging its members. So congratulations for getting the ball rolling on that. But I don't want to take any more time with all of this preamble, and we want to turn it over to you, Nobu. But again, thank you very much for sharing your time with us. And with that, Karen, Kehao, and I will make ourselves magically disappear, and we'll turn the stage over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Hawaii Realtors. It's really good to be with you. As you can see here, it snowed here in Denver. It's going to be 60 degrees tomorrow, which is nuts. This kind of weather will kill somebody. But Ryan and Karen wanted me to talk about the new normal in real estate tech, and I thought, what better way to talk about real estate tech than to bring an actual realtor in? This is my wife, Shay. Some of you guys know Shay is a realtor in Chicago, right? You're running a $100 million real estate business in Chicago out of Denver.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for technology.
And this is what we're going to be talking about today. I think we can remove the new part of new normal and just talk about normal real estate tech. There's a lot of things that we should have been embracing as real estate people, as brokerage leaders, as team leaders, that frankly with COVID forced you to. And these kind of lessons, I think, are something we should be taking to heart when it comes to how technology moves the industry going forward. Hawaii is a little different market and a lot more international than most. But I'm here in Denver. Half of my members are Zillow, right? So we've got Zillow buying houses here. You got technology companies buying houses here. You've got normal real estate technology folks, real estate technology buyers and sellers here, and then you've got the market runs the gamut. We've got mountain secondary homes along with urban condos to suburban houses. Real estate technology that helps all of these people is the stuff that's going to last. Wouldn't you say, Shay?
Absolutely, and it has really changed our business, especially since COVID.
Yeah, I left NAR actually in February, and that was right around the time that COVID actually hit. And I spent the next 4 or 5 months basically sitting and watching real estate go as realtors, brokerage leader associations dealt with COVID. But here's the thing, and Kehao and Karen and Ryan have already talked about it. I have met more people who have had record years this year than almost any other year combined. If you had a really good technology and marketing backbone, if you knew how to serve customers, if you knew how to lead curate, so to lead generate, and knew how to organize your clients, you actually really kicked some butt this year. Shay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we were up 150% this year. And the year's not over yet. We still have, I think, 20 pending contracts. I think you had two choices, right? You could bury your head in the sand and stay in bed all day and not do anything, or you could, get out there and talk to your clients and reassure them and help them figure out this new norm. And, people who did that in general, I'm finding had a really good year.
So as we go along and talk about today, I want you to put your questions in the chat box. We can't see you right now. All we see is the PowerPoint screen. So if you have any comments or questions, we will answer them towards the end of this. But know that technology, when it came to helping buyers and sellers streamline their experiences. That stuff mattered before and will only matter more so now as we go forward, right? So think about how you can do that. So I'm going to step outside of real estate real quick and talk about my Carvana experience. Now, Carvana, this is an interesting thing, right? So Carvana is a car dealer here in the mainland, but what they do not have are actual car like dealerships. Everything is virtual and online, and their process, their flow. Go visit them at Carvana.com. I got to tell you, during this time of COVID, it really mattered to me most how it works. So here's how I did it, right? So I went online.
We had to sell our car.
We had to sell one of our cars, the former Realtor car in Chicago. We had to sell one of them in order to get here. And I went on to Carvana.com. I punched in the make, year, model of my car, the mileage, and what I thought was the condition of the car, and punched it in. And the dollar amount I got back, guys, was pretty dang good. And, I'm thinking, okay, you get what you pay for kind of thing. And I decided to go out and shop my car around to both the traditional Acura dealers and Acura MDX, while also going to a CarMax. And the dollar amounts that they were to give me were within $100 of each other. So it was pretty set. There wasn't a lot of negotiation. But here's the thing, what was interesting was that during this time of COVID, I didn't want to go to a car dealer and spend half my day here hating my life, wondering why I was sitting in a car dealership. I went and decided to sell my car to Carvana, and they drove this truck up to my front door. They backed my used Acura MDX onto the back of their truck, gave me a check, and they were gone in 15 minutes. This, guys, is what you're going to see pervasively in the future. Technology meshing with real world services to save me, the consumer, time, money, and everything else. It was a very interesting experience. And what was cool about it too was the fact that this Carvana truck backed up to my front yard, pulled up, took my car away. Half of my neighbors came out and asked me how my experience was. It was a very personalized experience and one that actually mattered to me and my experience selling my car. And it cut my actual experience in half. I didn't have to go anywhere, saved me time, saved me money in this time. Shifting over to real estate, we've talked about this a lot over the last couple of months. What were your thoughts during your experience when watching me sell this thing?
Yeah, I think, for me, I always look at everything we do and I think, how can I translate this to my clients, right? And so for this experience, for me, it's what is important to my clients. And for the Carvana experience, it was, we didn't want to go to a car dealership during the middle of a pandemic, right? So now I ask my clients, like, what is it that they're concerned about with the buying or selling process? I recently had a seller, they were elderly and they wanted to sell their house, but they didn't want to be present. So they didn't want to have to get the house ready. They didn't want to have to be there when the movers came to take their stuff away because they were very concerned about COVID. So I interviewed along with maybe 4 or 5 other agents that they were interviewing. And I was the only one that really asked them, what are you concerned about in terms of selling your house? And they weren't concerned about price or any of that. They were concerned about how are they going to do this in a pandemic. So we offered to come in, have a full service packer, pack up their entire house. My assistant would be there to oversee it. She would be there to oversee the movers coming and taking their stuff. We would oversee decluttering, getting their house ready. So they did not have to come back to Chicago, which was their second home, because they're deathly afraid of COVID. So I think you have to take this Carvana experience and figure out how can you give your clients the same experience to make this transaction that is very stressful, usually in a non-pandemic world, and now more stressful. What are their pain points and how can you make that process as easy for them as possible? It cost me a couple $100 to have my assistant go over and oversee the packers and the movers, but I got that listing solely because I offered to do that for free, and none of the other agents asked the right questions and offered to do that. So it's about asking the right questions of your clients and providing that concierge level of service to make it a seamless experience. And
at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is this merger of online and technology in real life, right? So, what Shay was conveying in her experience with her clients, something that Carvana did, and rest, you guys got to realize, guys, that the only difference between Carvana, and after I realized a friend of mine worked there, I hit this person up for some guidance, and he told me, like, there's no difference between Carvana and other car dealerships, minus the fact that they don't spend millions of dollars a month in brick and mortar that just doesn't matter anymore. Now, the real estate takeaway for me is huge. Brick and mortar, yes, it's important, but the quality of that brick and mortar is going to change. How we actually market and brand it is going to change. How you convey experience and convenience online is going to be a thing, especially in Hawaii, man. My parents used to live in Eva, and then going to meet you guys in person at a real world webinar took me 3 hours to get to you, right? Including my stop at Zippy's. So when we're talking about how you can streamline the experience, think about what it matters to your client, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Because you're going to see more and more of companies like this. These companies made billions of dollars over the last couple of months doing expressly that.
Well, I would say also just having a great, easy to understand website, because a lot of your clients are coming from.
We're going to get to your website in a second, right? And parts of your website should factor in a lot of what you're seeing here, okay? So like Google's the #1 real estate search website in the world. I should be able to access your brain 24/7. The big thing in my mind, the biggest takeaway over the last 3 months in COVID, and frankly going forward in real estate, is the fact we all need to be kind of delivering this Amazon-style, premium Amazon-style experience where I can buy anything from A to Z, right? Not only am I hiring you for you, but I'm hiring you for the rest of your ohana, guys. It's your family, your team that brings the transaction in place. How are you marketing that? How are you marketing that going forward? And Zoom made billions of dollars over the last couple of months. And why? Because our clients, you're using it. And frankly, they're pretty tired of Zoom, so you need to think about how to use it better. But Zoom is a verb in many ways now more than anything, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think the A to Z is really key here. I had a client this morning that contacted me that moved out and realized they had moved out of state, and the movers who were supposed to take their stuff didn't take some of it, right? And so I was able to call Felipe, my trash guy, who's going over day to get the stuff, right? You have to be a problem solver for your clients, and you have to explain to them, you have every service covered that they could possibly need, so that you should be their first phone call if they have any problems during the transaction, after the transaction, because you will make their lives easier.
Yeah, real estate market your ohana, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, this is what's going to matter, right? So let's start with your website, right? This is, to me, is the biggest glaring need in real estate technology that no one has really seemed to want to hit, unless you're one of these astute brokerage leaders, team leaders, or realtors like my wife, who decide that they want to market and tell me, the consumer, things I didn't know to Google. This is the big thing when it comes to real estate marketing nowadays. I no longer need you for 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage. I need you to help me find the right 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage. And when I've got friends moving over to Hawaii, we have a couple of them in mind right now. They need to know the difference between all the Eva and Kailua and all these markets that are out there, including whatever island you're working on as well. Because a lot of folks don't realize how accessible and inexpensive, relatively speaking, real estate can be when you're talking about micro market to micro market. So when you're thinking about marketing, tell me things I didn't know how to Google, right? This is no longer marketing. Here's a really good example of it. This is what about $400,000 gets you in here in the mainland, guys. But I mean, right now it's easy to say sold in 1 day, multiple offers. Your market, Denver's market, Chicago's market is all hot. I need you to tell me the reason why it sold in 1 day in multiple offers. Talk about how long it takes for you to get a home ready to sell in 1 day in multiple offers. How many hours does it take for you to get a home ready to sell multiple offers?
Usually 30 hours. I mean, we talk about in our marketing, all of the prep work we did in terms of helping them declutter and get rid of stuff, painting, maybe we remodeled a bathroom, so talk about that stuff, because you really do yourself a disservice when you make it look like it's on HGTV and it's super easy, because we all know it's not that easy. You've probably put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get this property positioned well and priced well to sell in multiple offers. So talk about that backstory.
So when you're talking to your website vendor guy, I know there's a couple of them laying around in your virtual convention today. Ask him what they could do to help you share your brain online, right? Here's a really good example, guys, right? When I go to Amazon.com and look up recharging wire from my phone, I find every single dang thing I needed to know and didn't know about this wire. I mean, guys, there are reviews, there are recommendations, there are ratings, there are people that are raving about this wire compared to the other wires that are out there. You need to be better than this. There's a reason why, guys, Amazon is the way they are, right? They are inundating me with information I didn't know was important. And when it comes to the way Hawaii real estate works, don't be afraid to share this stuff. This is what marketing is now. Now, can it be prettier? Yeah, we've got a better product. We got a better product that we sell, buy homes that are much prettier, but don't forget about things like the micro markets, the neighborhoods that you're all selling as well, which are a huge part of your offerings going forward, right?
And even just, especially for people coming from the mainland, I don't know things like, is central AC standard in Hawaii? Should I be expecting that in houses I buy? What's the material? Do you have wood frame houses with siding? You have to think about people who are coming there who know nothing or are coming from completely different experiences, and talk about, like, are termites a problem there? I don't know. They're a big problem in Illinois. So talk about those things that people have questions about.
And there are a lot of different examples out there. This is Ann Jones's website in Tacoma, Washington. There's a big tie between Washington State and Hawaii. This is a really good example of putting your neighborhood first. Is a really good example of talking about what's hot in the neighborhoods that are out there. All Ann does is go and hires a photographer to go around and take pictures of the market and how it's growing. It's cheap Seattle now, and they have no choice but to do this, along with peppering it in the why I should work with Ann information. This is no longer a question about what your site is going to offer. It's what your site has to offer going forward. It needs to interact with things like your social media. Make sure that your social media and your website, guys, it's all marketing. There's no such thing as social media marketing. It's just marketing, okay? It needs to merge really well and tell the story of not only you and your brand. And guys, a $5 website can do it. How much are you paying for your site?
$5 a month.
How much are you going to make in volume this year?
I think we'll have done 50 million in volume this year.
Right.
Something
So,
like that.
right, with a $5 website, think about what you can do to interact and engage and show off your markets. This is burlingameproperties.com. This to me is something that I've been talking about this for years in your state. This would work really well, showing off people-focused real estate and having your clients tell the story of their real estate experience in their own words. You need to stop talking on your real estate marketing when it comes to how well you do things and how easy you make things. No one cares about that anymore because that's what we all say. What you need to talk about is how you can get your clients to do that talking for you. All right, Raziel, like you get all of your clients together and you engage with them. They're your board of directors. How does that look?
Absolutely. So I think it's about highlighting your clients. So one thing I stole from Raziel was we did porch photos. So we did porch photos for all of our clients this past year.
We'll talk about that a little later on too.
And, and so doing things like that is a great opportunity for you to ask clients questions like this. What was your experience working with me? What would you tell a first-time home buyer? Those kinds of things, and highlight them on your website. I know, like I spent all morning looking for doctors for us. And if they had a bad website that seemed out of date and was old and wasn't helpful, I went on to the next doctor, right? Like, your stuff has to be updated. It has to be pretty. It has to give them the content that they need when they need it. There's so many realtors out there, they're just going to move on to the next person if your stuff is 4 years old.
Here's a big thing, guys. And I'm going to expand upon this on Wednesday when I talk about real estate trends. But know this, folks, 50% of people who bought a home that Google talked to, so Google did a real estate centric study in 2018, and last year shared with us that 50% of people that they talked to had no idea which agent to use. After browsing brokerage website, 50% of those guys hated brokerage websites. So, and the reasons why, guys, is because the lack of a customability, the lack of any personality, and the lack of up-to-date dynamic information. They hated our sites, and they didn't know which one of us to use because all of us look the same online. So differentiate, right? So we're talking about Shay. This is what a $5 website looks like, but you are totally hitting people up with information that they didn't know to actually Google, right?
Right. And I think that's really the key is being up to date. We have a page on here called Buying During COVID, and we update it every couple of weeks about what we're seeing in our market and what new restrictions have been put in, what restrictions have come off, how can we do showings? Are we able to do showings? Can they go to open houses, right? So it's always up to date. We do the same thing on the sell side. So if somebody comes to look at this, because I think the statistic is 2 out of 3 people research you extensively before they decide to use you.
Talk about that Wednesday.
Yeah, so if somebody's coming here to my website, they can see we are talking up to the minute really about what's going on in our market. We're very on top of things, but we're also educating them about the process. So we have a ready to buy and a ready to sell page that take them through all the steps of the transaction. So if they're moving from someplace like Hawaii, they can understand how our transaction and our process is very different in Illinois than in any other state.
Here's the thing you need to realize about this is that as remote work becomes more and more prevalent, I guarantee you, for specifically your market, you're going to see a lot of these C-suite type folks move from their markets in California or Oregon, wherever they are, move out to you guys, spend time in their second homes, and do business out of there, right? So then they're going to need to know things like this before they even move their businesses over, right? So, think about how you can expand the information that you have in your head, put it online, so that I don't need to ask you 800 million questions anymore. Because at the end of the day, if your website at the very least is answering questions that that your clients did have, and answered questions they didn't know to even Google, you've done yourself not only a great service to them, but you saved yourself a lot of time as well.
Right. I mean, it's like we bought a house in Denver, sight unseen. We needed to find a realtor who was willing to do FaceTime showings and Zoom showings with us. So talk about how if you have people who want to move to Hawaii and they're not comfortable coming in person, you can do all of those things for them. Make that transaction as easy as possible. Attached
to your site, Shay, are these Google Forms. If you don't know what Google Forms are, go to your nerd kid and ask about Google Forms. If you have a Gmail account, you already have access to Google Forms. But what you can make on these forms is absolutely amazing. What questions do you ask your buyers and your sellers here?
Sure. So first of all, Google Forms is free. It's very easy to use. So if you can use a Microsoft Word document, you can make a Google form. These maybe took me an hour to set up. And essentially, I realized there had to be a better way to do buyer and seller intakes rather than spending an hour to an hour and a half on the phone with somebody asking them how many bedrooms do they want, bathrooms, neighborhood, are they pre-approved, et cetera. So we put together these Google Forms. We have one for buyers, one for sellers, and then we have a combined form that's if somebody's going to sell and buy with us. And it really is that intake experience. So it asks them all the basics, their contact information, but then on the buy side, it asks them, when do they want to move? What are they concerned about with the buying process? What makes them nervous? What's their disc profile? Do they need a lot of information to make a decision, or do they make decisions from the gut? Are they pre-approved? What are they looking for in a real estate agent? So that when I set up a Zoom call with them after that to go over their survey and ask additional questions and allow them time to ask me questions, I already have a lot of information. So I'm much more prepared, and it makes our time together much more efficient.
What's cool about it, is that everyone I talk to who uses these forms in their businesses know that if somebody is willing to fill these surveys out completely, they are much more serious with their intent to buy and their sell, again, saving you time and saving them time.
Yep.
You get a form back and it's half done. You can pretty much guarantee that these people are going to be ready in some way because they haven't even asked themselves the formative questions they need to know, right?
Yep.
So, with these Google Forms, do you need to put them on a site? No. You can develop these things, put them on your email signature.
Yeah.
Use them for referrals when somebody wants to refer you business, and these things dump right into your Gmail account. Right. Pretty easy stuff.
Yeah, and on the sell side, it asks you to, it allows you to ask questions like, what do you think your home is worth? What's the bottom amount you would take for your home? Things that sometimes are uncomfortable to ask in person. And I find on a survey, it feels anonymous. So they just put the information down. I think it also really sets you apart from the other people in your market. And it allows you to get back to people quicker. Because if I get somebody reaching out to me wanting to be a new buyer, I may not have time to jump on the phone with them for an hour right at that moment, but I can respond back immediately, say, hi, I'd love to set up a time to Zoom with you. Before we do that, can you please fill this ready to buy survey out? And it basically gives them homework to keep them busy until you do have time to talk with them. And so it feels like you're getting back to them right away. And I just had a buyer say to me last week, we think we're really going to love working with you because what we didn't like about our previous realtor is we didn't feel like they took the time to get to know us.
How many agents are there in Chicago?
14,000.
14,000. It's basically what you're dealing with in Honolulu, guys. This saves a lot of people time.
Yeah.
It adds a lot of convenience and asks them questions you didn't even need to know. Now, use it. It's free. If you want to go and check them out, they're on Shay's website, but no, you need to change this for the Hawaii real estate market. Some people have gone and copied and pasted this stuff, and it doesn't matter to their market because it's very different. Chicago's very different, okay? Now, how it talks to real estate, your Facebook. Here's the thing. 99.9% of you really need to stop it with the whole, how do I use Facebook and Instagram and TikTok in my business? Because if you haven't figured it out, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because it just looks awkward as you're doing it. But at the very least, what you can do is make sure that your marketing is is really streamlined into your Facebook and gives them people something to be excited about, something to talk about, right? On the left-hand side, you're seeing real satisfied. You should be asking for better reviews. And on the right-hand side, as the cybersecurity guy will tell you, you really need to lay into your clients to shut up online. Don't give people the internet answers to security questions that protect your private information, right? Talk about how your social media and your marketing interplay with each other.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a big believer in social media. My team, I've got a couple agents on my team. We post in stories every single day about, going out on showings, writing contracts, et cetera. But in general, we really try to educate our clients, so that's what we're trying to do on the right-hand side is really educate our clients, because I find a lot of the marketing that's out there is just about the agent and how they're so great and they're so busy, et cetera.
Yep. No one cares. Everyone's busy.
Exactly. And what people want is education, especially now during COVID, right? So we have social media going out tomorrow. We did an interview last week with our lender to say, what's going on with interest rates? What do you think is going to happen with them after the election? So really look at your social media as a way to educate and show your expertise.
Frankly, Facebook, almost all social media now is an advertising platform. You're going to need to pay to play at some point, but you need to have good content in order to do it. It starts with things like this. It's not marketing, guys. It's not social media marketing. It's just marketing. Okay. So anybody tells you otherwise, just trying to sell you something you don't need. Okay. Let's talk about team communications. How big is your team, Shay?
I have one listing agent, myself, and 2 buyers agent, and 4 assistants.
And they're all, some of them are in Chicago. You got one in Ohio and one in North Carolina, correct?
Correct.
The beauty about technology is it allows you to communicate succinctly and strategically if you use your communications channels the best. Now, you don't use email for the majority of your communications amongst your team because that is a client comms channel, correct? You use Slack for your team's communications. Talk about how Slack works. It's slack.com, guys.
Yeah, so we love Slack. So this is actually a screenshot of my Slack. So what I found, for those of you with teams, what I found is that I was getting inundated with emails from my team members. Even just when I had one assistant, it was constant emails. And so what Slack allows us to do is create a channel for each client. And so now when my assistant or somebody has a particular question about that client, they just go into that channel, type my name and say, hey, has inspection been booked yet? And I can write back and say, yep, it's Tuesday at 4 p.m. And then my assistant knows automatically to put it in my calendar, notify the appropriate parties, et cetera. So it has streamlined our communication and made it much more efficient. And what I like about it is if I can't remember if inspection negotiations are done, I can go back to that channel, scroll back and see, yes, it was taken care of, because I think we have 45 or 50 active clients at a time. So you can't keep that in your head anymore. Slack is free. It's super easy to use. My whole team loves it. It has made us much more efficient and cut down on our emails considerably.
Think about it as text messaging on steroids. Right? So email is a long drawn out storytelling that you're going to need to sell yourself to clients and then to communicate with you. Think about using Slack as like a text messaging service. You make it specific to your buyers and your sellers or any kind of project you're working on, and you can make text messages short, quick, and sweet, back and forth, notified on your phone just like any text message would. You can make phone calls with it if you wanted to, right? And the majority of the good stuff is free. You could pay for it. It's very little per year for the thing.
We don't pay for it,
right? So, think about taking email out of the equation, because people, we're in the middle of here too at the Denver Metro Realtors. I don't use email for my team-to-team communications anymore. We use Slack and Asana, right? So think about that when you're trying to simplify and streamline your communications. This is a big one. It's a collaborative search, right? Ryan at the MLS, they'll tell you that they're kind of data dumping people when you get these emails about what's available online. I'm in the middle of getting a bunch of these right now from our realtor out in Hawaii. But when it comes to collaborative search, Ryan and you guys might want to think about a solution called Real Scout, which is something that Shay and her team started using as well. How does Real Scout work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we used to put our clients on MLS searches, and our MLS is just clunky. It's not that great for clients. They can't set up their own searches. They can't tweak their searches. It doesn't automatically notify them when an open house is happening. So it's not a great tool it's a great tool from our perspective, but it's not a great tool from the consumer side. And so we found Real Scout, which is, it's more almost like a Redfin. It's very interactive with the client. So they can go on, I can set up their initial search, but then if they don't like that search, they can see the map, they can tweak it themselves, they can set up a separate search, they can comment on every property and say, hey, you know, can you reach out to the agent and find out this? And so we can really communicate on each individual property. It also notifies them automatically on Fridays of any properties having open houses that weekend that they have marked that they liked. So it's just a much more interactive platform. I think it's $30 some odd a month is what I pay for each of my agents. And we have found it's just really made our client experience much better.
What's cool about it, and this is something to think about from the brokerage perspective, and Ryan, if you're listening from the MLS perspective as well, is that it keeps people on our platform rather than going to a portal for any of your kind of real estate. It's an interesting when you think about the fact that we lose a lot of people to portals. And here's the thing. Now, you know, a former NAR guy, I wouldn't have told you that a couple of years ago, but I'm going to tell you right now, these portals are all becoming realtors. So, you know, the competition that they're going to be bringing is going to be front and center on our doorstep. There are realtors here in Denver. You know, it's only a matter of time before they make it out there to your markets. Think about how you can keep the experience sticky more than anything with something that's pretty and it's actually usable. In terms of that two-way engagement end of things. You know, it's a brokerage-centric product, but at the MLS level, you might want to consider it as well.
That was the problem I was having is my clients were all going to Redfin because it was such a better website.
Not that anything's wrong with them; they're realtors, right?
No. I'm saying it's a great website.
But they weren't staying on your.
They weren't staying on mine, so they were going to Redfin, Zillow, etc.
And they didn't trust what you had to say either,
right? They thought it might be. And then what I was finding they were doing is they were hitting the tour buttons, like trying to book tours through those websites, not understanding how it worked. And so I really needed to keep them on my website so that when they wanted to see a property, they would reach out to me for that information rather than all of these other sites out there.
At the end of the day, guys, searching for a home is a collaborative environment. Make sure you're going out there and at least being aware of what your MLS is offering, how it's better than the portals, so how it differentiates from the portals, especially in a fast-moving market like yours. So at the end of the day, your clients are educated enough to know what's going on, and if you want to use one of these services as well, have at it. Right? Think about it from the brokerage point of view. Right? Now, the age-old question that we always get is how to use a CRM. Guys, knock it off. This is to me, the website, the CRM are the two things you need to be concentrated on no matter where you are in this business. But organizing your clients better than leads and closed clients is something you need to do. I don't care how you do it, but figure out how you're going to organize your clients better. So what is your CRM and how do you use it, Shay?
Sure. So I use RealVolve. And what I really like about RealVolve is you can set up these workflows where I can have very detailed emails that go out based on milestone dates in the transaction. So I have workflows set up based on where they are in the transaction. So I have a prospective buyer, a current buyer, that's somebody we're doing showings with, but we haven't put under contract yet. And then once they go under contract, they become a buyer under contract. And that takes them from being under contract through closing. It has about 100 steps in it. I think 80 some of them are emails. They're automated so that the client is getting an email from us each day explaining what the next step is in the process.
Personalized email.
Right.
Right.
So, it'll be tomorrow's your inspection. Here's what you need to know about the inspection. And then as soon as the inspection is done, RealVolve knows to send them an email out based on the inspection date saying, we just had the inspection. Tomorrow you're going to get the report. Here's what you need to do once you have your report. So it really holds their hand throughout every step of the process because I can put all those milestone dates in there and I can say to it, I want this email to go out one day before inspection and this to go out one day after. And then we have the same thing on the sell side. And for our closed clients, we have a 10-year follow-up campaign for closed clients.
10 years, guys, 10.
Where they hear from us every month after the transaction ends, because what I hear from a lot of realtors is they only follow up with their clients for 6 months after the transaction ends. But my feeling is your client doesn't need you 6 months after the transaction ends. They need you 5 to 10 years later when they're ready to buy and sell again. That's when you want to make sure you're front and center. So that closed campaign, in my opinion, has to be at least 10 years.
Have a plan, folks. This is not about lead generation anymore. It's about lead curation. Here's the thing. You don't need to use RealVolve. Almost every good CRM does this. You just need to plug it into your email solution a little better, okay? And plan a lot better, right? What's great about this is that, and really anybody who uses their CRM well, and no matter what it is, that's the first thing you look at every morning, not emails, but it's you go into your app that powers your CRM to make sure that all the emails that are going out to your clients, to your posts, to your happy clients that have already closed, anybody's in your lead curation system, they are getting something that's personalized and relevant to them.
Right, absolutely. Because like today, I have a client who's trying to decide if they want to cancel a contract. So I didn't want the next step of that email to go out, so I just hit skip it until tomorrow while we decide if they want to cancel or not. So you're able to stay on top of it so that you everything is automated, but you can change things so you look like you always know what's going on.
A friend of mine, Raj Kusar, sells real estate out of Malibu, says this, and I fully agree with him, is that your CRM is your business hub, not your email. It's your CRM. Learn how to use it better, because these people, folks like her, are going to know that 1 out of 15,000 realtors in Chicago will forget about one client every year. That is a ton of business.
And I think, you really need a CRM that also has a transaction management capabilities in it, for it to be effective. And, that's what this does. So it has all those automated emails, but we're also able to track, did earnest money come in? Did we get the disclosures back? So it really has everything under one platform. I would not be able to run my business without RealVolve.
Yep. And we'll talk about more of that stuff on Wednesday. Video, yeah. I think the thing about video is that we've been talking about the year of video for about 10 years in real estate. It's finally happened, so much to the point now that our clients are tired of video, right? So when we're talking about what video is now, know that no matter what, almost 90% of video is viewed on mute. So you can do all the talking that you want on your video, but you got to understand that most people will need to see your story rather than hear it, right? So make sure you do your heavy visuals. You have a great market for that. But know that, frankly, at the end of the day, you need to tell the story visually and not more than anything else. Rev.com, by the way, is a fantastic solution that you can take a video, upload it, and everything that's spoken will get transcribed and captioned onto your screen so that you can leverage the amount of mute video that's out there right now. But tell the story visually more than anything. Now, you don't go that route, Shay. You use this DJI Osmo video camera hooked to your phone and your social media, and this can actually tell a really good story for you, right?
Yeah. So Nobu bought me this thing 4 years ago. And it sat in my house, and I never
2 years.
used it until COVID. And now I don't know how I would function without it. So thank you, because it was awesome. So what's really nice about this? So on all of our listings, we always do, floor plans, photos, a Matterport tour, and now we're doing this. And so we're really using this to tell the story of the house and really the neighborhood. So I basically use it. It's a gimbal, and what's nice about it is that it stabilizes as you're walking through the property, so it doesn't seem choppy. So I walk through each of our listings now, basically doing a showing, and I show details you can't see in the photos. I open the fridge. I show if there's a garbage disposal. I open every closet door, so people who are not there in person can really go to get a good sense of what the property is like. And then what I do is I walk the neighborhood, and I show what the neighborhood looks like. In your market, if you're close to the beach, I walk so people can see how close it is to the beach, or how close it is to some restaurants, how close it is to the elementary school, etc. And then my assistant edits those so that they can see all those in like 30 seconds so that they get a really good sense of the neighborhood. These videos end up being long for me. They're like 10 or 15 minutes, but my feeling is people are going to look at the photos in 30 seconds and either be interested in the property or move on. If they like it, then they're going to look at the Matterport tour, quickly for a couple minutes. If they really are interested, then they're going to look at this video, and it replaces a showing, particularly for those people who are out of town.
She uses Matterport tours as well. Floor plans are a big thing for houses. I don't understand why we're not using floor plans more. Yeah. But no, this is the DJI Osmo Minicam. This can actually plug into your phone, and you can live stream with it as well in super high 4K quality. You can buy them right now for like $369. It's the same guys that make the drones. Specifically, they took the drone out, put it on a gimbal, or took the camera off the drone, put it on a gimbal. It's really good stuff.
And they're great during COVID for buyers who are not local. As you guys have had, we've had a ton of buyers moving from out of town who don't feel comfortable traveling to Chicago with COVID. So we've been using these to do the virtual, walkthroughs with them. And it's just much crisper and clearer for them to be able to see the property.
Better than your phone. Frankly, your phone does one really good thing right now, and that's make phone calls and check emails, right? So think about that. I love what you're doing with Zoom, right? So yes, you can use Zoom as a first point of contact now, but you can actually interview your Ohana on Zoom, on your Facebook page, on your website, and talk about the pertinent issues that they're experiencing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in March, when so many people started getting laid off, kind of my first thought was, oh my gosh, so many people aren't going to have health insurance now. So we reached out to our health insurance broker and did a Zoom interview with her to ask what happens if somebody loses their health insurance for their family or for themselves. How do they get new health insurance? What does it cost? It had nothing to do with real estate. We were just trying to help our clients and our people. And we put that out on social media and sent it out through our network. We just did one the other day that's going out tomorrow with our lender about what does he think is going to happen with interest rates, depending on who wins the election? Does he think they're going to be higher next year? Should people still be refinancing now? That's a question I'm getting a lot. So if you find you're starting to get questions from your clients, frequently, that might be a good Zoom topic for you to find an expert. We did one on the stock market when everything was tanking in April. We talked to our financial planner because clearly that is not an area I'm an expert in, and got his opinion on what people should do, right? So, make sure you are interviewing experts when it's not a field that you are an expert in.
And make sure this is the Amazon of real estate, and actually putting a face on it, guys. You could broadcast this to your Facebook pages. Zoom, to me, is a no-brainer right now to actually pay for. Stop using the free one. That's how you get photobombed with naked people. So stop using the free stuff. Go and pay for it. It's worth your while. Broadcast to your Facebook. Do really high-quality online events with it now more than ever before.
Well, and it's a great way for you to advertise these people's business and for everyone in their sphere to learn about you. So it's just great cross-branding.
Yep. All right. If you want to use, Apple's got a really good app called Clips. It's super creepy, though, because what it does is you can actually speak into it, broadcast it live, and it'll actually transcribe and caption your words into your videos as you're doing it in real time. It's an Apple app. I think it's free. Super creepy. You are now one of the great products of the world. People using you as a guinea pig. But if you want to use this app for your live stuff, even better, right? After the transaction, though, here's the thing. Stop it with the high tech. Use high tech to keep up with your clients, but think about how you can go high touch with the post-transaction experiences. You used to do a lot of things like, actually go back to Chicago for a pie giveaway or pie drive-through now. Movie theater events, but now you don't really need to do those anymore because of COVID. How are you doing? What are you doing now?
Well, I totally disagree with that. We still need to do them. We just need to do them differently. Yep. So, like in March, I realized that Girl Scouts couldn't send out their Girl Scout cookies. And so we bought, 600 boxes of Girl Scout cookies from them and arranged for each client to pick 3 flavors they wanted. And the Girl Scouts dropped them all off at their front porch for me. We did Mother's Day flowers, where for all of our moms, we left a couple flowers on their front porch because Mother's Day sucked for a lot of us moms this year, right, with no childcare. We also did porch photos. And so these were a huge hit with my clients. I found a photographer. I paid her $20 per family. They signed up for time slots. She would come by their house. It was socially distanced. They stayed on their front porch. She took photos for 5 minutes, and they got one digital image included, and then they could buy other ones. This was a huge hit. I've never gotten so much feedback as I did about this. And people posted them on their social media, tagged their clients, etc.
This is the thing with social media. You got to stop talking on it and let your clients rave about you using their social media. So you don't have to do all that work because it's not going to matter anyways. But if people are raving you on their social media, you're going to be good. And for these porch photos, by the way, hit up our boy Eric Mansberger out there in Eva. Dude is one of the best photographers ever. He's doing a lot of real estate stuff now, doing a little bit of a pivot because the wedding industry has crashed out there. But there are a lot of ways you can leverage your current team to do these cool things to make your businesses memorable using technology that's out there. So, this is what we're gonna say. We have a minute to go and talk about what it is that you're doing. But here's the thing: learn from your time in quarantine and talk about what your tech can do to help other people. So, with that, looks like we've got all right. Got some questions here. A lot of people were asking about how to.
Yep. Can I just pitch them to you? Eric wanted to hear from Shay. How long did it take for you to get into the habit of using your system successfully? The 10-year lead system.
Not long. I mean, once you get it, it takes a long time to get it set up initially. It took me probably a solid year to set up all of those workflows, working on it 10 or 20 hours a week. But the nice thing is once you have it set up, I don't think about those clients again necessarily for 10 years because they're hearing from me every month. It's prompting me every couple months to send them a text or a Facebook message or something like that. They're also getting our invitations for our events and our pop-by gifts and stuff. So it takes a lot of time to set up the initial system, but then once you set it up, it just plug and plays after that.
Diana wants to know, with that great stabilized camera, what do you use to edit the footage that you get a nice, tight 30-second video?
That is a wonderful question that I do not know the answer to because my assistant does it. I have no idea. Do you have any editing suggestions?
Well, here's the thing. You're buying a new Apple or any new PC, newish, they all have editing software on it. So if you want to use your laptop or your desktop, that's fantastic. Your phone can actually do it now as well. Here's the thing, though. It's like when I was doing video in my when I was an agent, just quick 30-second to 1-minute shots, and stop. Don't be afraid to stop it. Right. So then you can email multiple videos if you need to, or clip them all together if you had to, using things like your phone if you wanted to. That's the great thing about that DJI Osmo camera, is that it plugs into your phone. It can plug directly into your the iPhone or iPad's tech, so you can use a video there afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, as an Apple user, certainly the iMovie that comes on your phone and your computer is pretty simple and easy to use. Renee wants to know, rather than Gmail forms, she uses Office 365. Is there a solution she could use to do that kind of form?
No, those Office forms should be okay. You just got to make them publicly accessible. The thing about Gmail is Google Forms is that they're public first rather than team-centric, which is what Office 365 tends to be. So just make sure that those forms are publicly available and there's a link. You should be fine, because I just did that actually here with my team.
And Andrea, from earlier in your presentation where you said, put on your website stuff they don't know to ask about, don't you miss out on connecting with a potential client if you put everything they want to know out there on your website?
I get that a lot as a question, and I find that it just doesn't happen. What it shows instead is your experience and your knowledge, and that's what people are looking for. And so if you have all of that out on your website, they want to call you because they know you know what you're talking about, and you probably have a lot more information that's in your head that's still not out on your website, right? So to me, that's kind of backwards thinking. Again, I'm looking for a doctor now. I'm calling those people who had a lot of content on their website, and I knew they knew what they were talking about, right? Same thing with a realtor. Yeah,
that thinking is very 1995. I don't know if that's not a bad thing, not a good thing, but frankly, this is the time right now is that consumers are expecting you to share that information, and you also need to tell them that no matter what information I give you, the experience is going to be very unique, because there will be 7 million or 5 million houses that'll sell this year. Every single experience is going to be different.
And my expectation is if I can look something up on Google in 15 seconds, I should be able to find that information on my agent's website. The other thing I find is that my clients oftentimes share that information on the website about what happens with the inspection with mom and dad and, aunt and uncle, who are giving them all sorts of unsolicited advice, right? So it's a way for you to reach a broader audience because they're going to share that content with their sphere.
The SEO that she gets in Chicago from her site is off the charts. And that's Google search engine optimization, guys.
Right. So one of the questions that came up, I know we got help, someone who posted it, but for those just watching, what website is your website, Shay? Where can people go to find your work and your social media profiles?
Yeah, that's a good point. We should have. So my website is through Playster.com, which is an NAR member benefit. So you can go to NAR member benefit and look at their websites. They all have templates. Mine's mobile responsive. My URL is buyselllovechicago.com if people want to go check it out. And that's Buy Sell Love Chicago is for our social media as well. So that's our team name, Buy Sell Love Chicago. So you can find everything there.
Buy Sell Love Chicago.
Buy Sell Love Chicago, exactly.
Excellent. Well, Nobu and Shay, thank you very much for your time. We'll make it available later. This session is recorded, as all of our main stage sessions are. If you wanted, is there a way people can reach out to you, maybe ping you on Twitter or even email you if they have further questions about what you presented today?
I don't have a Twitter account, so don't hit me up there.
No one's on Twitter anymore. Just Google her. Google. She's the one that everyone needs to talk to. She's around online. Shay Hata, Hata, and feel free to hit her up anytime, right?
Yeah, you can get my email address on my website. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
All right, fantastic. Well, Nobu and Shay, thank you very much for a very energetic, very fast-paced, very practical opening to our joint technology expo. Thank you very much for sharing your time in your snowy environments with our warm and humid friends out here.
It'll all be melted by Wednesday when I see you guys again.
We want to come to Hawaii. Get out of here.
Well, we'll let you know when that's safe.
I know, exactly. I know.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
All right. Thank you very
Your
much.
conference, guys.
Thank you.